Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use pedals with the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. Specifically, I'm going to be using this Boss G7 Equalizer. If you haven't tried a Boss G7 Equalizer, I'd highly recommend it, as it's one of those pedals that can do so much. It's a utility pedal. You can use it as a boost. You can also use it to cut and boost frequencies that are lacking, or you just want to boost from your guitar just to make your solos punch through the mix. It's a brilliant pedal, and it's one of those pedals that you'd always use on your board. I've programmed this patch, and as you can hear, it's a little bit flubby in the low mids. So I'm going to use the Boss G7 to correct that, and I'm also going to boost some other frequencies as well. What I could do with this pedal is to go in the front end of the Quad Cortex, to go in the input. But if I bring down the screen here, what we need to do with this input level is to get the optimum sound out of your pickups per guitar. So for instance, I've got a Strat, it's obviously going to be a lot lower output than say like my Les Paul over there. So that's why we can change the input level. So if I hit the guitar, you'll see that the input level is coming really close to this little line here, exactly where we want it. If I plug my guitar into the input of the EQ pedal and then run that into the input of the Quad Cortex, and I boost the EQ pedal, it's obviously going to take it over that limit. So that's why we can use the effects send and returns inside the Quad Cortex. So I've got this blank block here. I'm going to click on the block. I'm going to come down and I'm going to choose effects loop. I've got the Boss G7 plugged into send and return number 1 on the back of the Quad Cortex. So I'm going to choose effects loop 1. As you can see, this block is assigned to pedal A. So if I click on pedal A, that'll turn that block on and off. So that's on. That's off, so it makes no difference at all. And if I turn the pedal on as the pedal's flat, it makes no difference. As you can see, there's a couple of things we can change on the effects loop on the Quad Cortex. So we've got send level, this is the amount that's going to the pedal. The return level is the amount that's coming back from the pedal. The mix is the overall mix, so we can use it in parallel mode. So basically, if I want to have less of the EQ in there, I can bring the mix back a little bit and you'll get more of the clean signal coming through. This trails control here, and this is for if you want your reverb and delay trails to continue on when you actually take the effects loop out. But as we're using the EQ here, I can leave that off. So now let's come over to the Boss G7. As I said, I think the low mids are a little bit over the top of this patch. Now I could change this inside the amp, but we're going to get much more control over an EQ pedal, or even over the EQ that's inside the Quad Cortex. But to be honest, the reason why I'm using the G7 is because it's much quicker and I can use it as a utility pedal. So as I said earlier, I can boost with this and I can cut and boost other frequencies really, really quickly. So I'm just going to notch back 200 and 400 just a tiny bit. So if I take the pedal out and bring it in, now already that's improved it 100% for me. I'm just going to give it a little boost. Now again, you only have to touch these controls because they really do make a massive difference. And I'm also going to boost the very top frequency, and I'm going to give it a little bit of 500 as well. Now if I take the pedal out and bring it in, it's just giving it that extra bit of clarity. And because I'm using the effects loop inside the Quad Cortex, as I said, I can just turn it on and off from my stomp pedals by using button A. Now, obviously, you don't just have to use EQ pedals with this, you can use overdrives and distortions. And it's honestly the best way of running it through the Quad Cortex, as you're not running it into the input and you're not going to overload the input. You're still going to keep that integrity between your guitar and the input of the Quad Cortex by setting up the input level, and running it through the effects loop just keeps a much cleaner path. I've taken out the Boss G7 and I put in a Exotic Effects BB Overdrive Pedal. So there's the clean sound. If I bring in the pedal, So what I could do now with this is to blend my clean signal with my overdrive signal. So if I turn that pedal on again and I bring the mix back, I get my clean signal. So that's actually now, because the mix is back, we're bypassing that pedal. And I could bring it in. Even just a small amount. I'm going to add an EQ internally inside the Quad Cortex, and I'm going to upload this patch to the Neural DSP cloud. So if you want this patch, you can download it. All you've got to do is to search for the Studio Rats and you can download it from there. Anyway, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. I really hope you guys got something out of it. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell button and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul and I'll see you next time. Cheers.